Hi guys, Saki with another Command & Conquer Red Alert video. In this game I'm playing a free-for-all match on the map Arena Valley Extreme. I'm starting in the bottom left position, playing as the Allies. So for those of you who don't know this map has a bunch of orange gems patches across the map, and you've got a concentration of these towards the middle, but there is also patches near the outside bases. So what tends to happen is people tend to migrate towards the middle. There's 4 players in this, so we don't exactly know where each player is going to spawn. Because sometimes, usually you think it's better if it's in the corners, but they could have spawned in middle spots, and that's why I'm going to the bottom middle straight away, just there. And we can see there's not a player there, which is obviously a good thing for us. Quite often there can be. And now just getting my ore refinery out and my ore truck on that patch there. You can see the patch near my base. It does have a lot of gems initially, so that is going to give me a really strong start. Another thing about the settings on this game is we've got aftermath units switched on. So that's going to change things quite a bit. 3 of us picked random nations to start this, and I got the Allies, Greece, for this match. And there's obviously pro advantages and disadvantages of each nation. I guess with the Allies you do have naval units are a lot better. You also have some things like chrono tanks if you've got aftermath units switched on. The thing about Soviets though, and a lot of people will choose Soviets when you have aftermath units on, the big advantage of the Soviets with aftermath units on is they can produce shock troopers. And shock troopers are very effective infantry. One of the other things about aftermath units switched on that some people don't know is that you have a limit on the building speed increase. So I'm going to be building my second war factory now, and once I've built my second war factory I will have the maximum tank building speed I can have in the game. So if I build any more war factories it's not going to make any difference at the rate at which I produce tanks. Now the shock troopers are produced by the barracks, so that's like a separate unit building. So if you build 2 barracks you can build infantry at the fastest possible building speed. And the thing about shock troopers is they're very different from other infantry. They fire Tesla for one thing, so they do an awful lot of damage to tanks. Also, they can't be squashed, and that's one of the big advantages. So if you run tanks into them, you're not going to squash any of the shock troopers, and they're going to do a whole lot of damage with the Tesla which they fire. Another thing to watch out for from Soviet players is MiGs. Usually you don't see MiGs in normal games, and that's because MiGs is just so expensive. The cost of producing them just doesn't warrant the benefits they can give you, because as soon as people see MiGs they start putting countermeasures up, and it just takes so many resources. It reduces the tank numbers so much. But obviously when aftermath units is switched on, then tank numbers are limited because of the building speed, and therefore you can have more resources for other units. And you can see I'm spreading out now. I've got my second construction yard, so that's going to give me double the building speed. I probably won't be building too many more, I don't think, because obviously it doesn't give you any building speed benefits. I might want to migrate to another place. It's going to depend later in the game. What I probably won't need to do as much is spread out because of the limited resource spend, because of the building speed of production buildings, but I still want to get in this middle part. I'm also getting my tech centre, and that's going to be one of the big benefits in this game, is going to be getting that tech centre up and satellite out, so I can see what the other players are doing. So getting my tech centre down there, and I'm going to get a gap generator immediately, just to hide some of the buildings, just so other players can't see what I'm doing. Especially, we know that red is playing as the Soviets, so there could be MiGs out quite early, and there we can see a cyan construction yard to the middle right of the map. What I do notice about that position is it's going to be right next to one of the lakes. And the thing about lakes is what you can do is you can start putting naval units in them, and that can make a big difference. So I'm going to definitely keep an eye on that. We don't know what cyan is at the moment, whether it's Soviets or Allies. Soviets can also have some good lake units as well though. With aftermath units switched on, they get access to missile subs, which can fire on buildings and do quite a bit of damage. And there we can see that red has a Tesla up there, so just taking my infantry down, and cyan has built a base near mine, so we're going to take that out straight away, because we don't want him mining off the same ore patches. There's no way we're going to let him set up a base there, especially when he's building tanks right next to my base. That is not going to stand. So taking out the construction war factory, and now we'll be going for the tanks and then the construction yard. He's already sold it. He knows there's no way he's going to be getting a base down there. If he wants to expand, he can expand towards red, who's in the top right. So just expanding out a little bit. I'm not going to go too far to the middle, hopefully. I'm just going to sort of like establish myself in that little middle left patch, which I'm in now. Get a couple more oil refineries. We can see that red looks to be very interested across the top of the map. I guess we'll find out quite soon once our satellite is researched. One of the things we have to be careful of in this game is getting in too many fights. Because we have a limited number of like tanks we can build, like a limited build speed, the thing is you can't replenish armies very quickly. So if you go gung-ho and go all across the map and start fighting everyone, you're going to run out of units quite quickly, and you're not going to be able to build those units back up. So we do need to be quite careful and mindful of that. It's not like sometimes when you have aftermath units switched on, where you can just keep on building more and more oil refineries, get more control over the map, and have about 4 or 5 war factories working, producing units. That's just not the way this is going to work. We've got our tech centre now though, so we can produce some different units, like chrono tanks and Tanyas. Also going to be just expanding this economy a little bit. My resource count now is starting to look a lot more healthy. I'm in the thousands, building up a little bit, so that's definitely a good thing. And now satellite is researched, and we can see what's going on in different parts of the map. It looks like yellow and red are going to be at each other early on. You can see the army starting to build up near each other. We also see Cyan, and we can see that Cyan is actually playing as the Soviets because it was random nations, so we didn't know, and it doesn't look like he's got anything in that lake at the moment to the middle right, which I referenced earlier. But now it looks like yellow and red are going to be in a bit of a battle. I didn't actually realise how close yellow were to our base. I guess I had some infantry blocking our infantry early on, and they're going to be getting in a fight with red. So I'm probably going to be going for a fight with Cyan, and now we're going for the chrono tank and sneaked into the back of the base. We'll have to see, is he going to recognise that, or we're going to get a construction yard down. While we're doing that, we're going to get an extra tech centre just as a spare, just in case I have a sneaky attack. While we're focusing on this, now we're going to get our second chrono tank in and going to go for another construction yard. This is going to be a second one, and the first construction yard we can see is going down, and now we are going to go for some of the other units. I just have to be careful. Some rocket troopers there, and just getting as much down as we can. But he's recognised it there. He's got flame tower down, and he's destroyed my next chrono tank. We're still going to get the construction yard down though, with another chrono tank in. I'm just having a look at his base. He still has 2 construction yards there, and they look to be a bit better defended with some tanks and also some Tesla. And now a yellow tank trying to go through my base, and it looks like he's going to get quite a lot of visibility, unfortunately, although we do have a gap generator, so that's going to sort of like hide some of my base. But he will have eyes now that I've got a tech centre, and he'll probably know that I do have a vision of other parts of the map. And the Tesla coming up and stopping that chrono tank. And I think those chrono tanks have now served the purpose. I got 2 construction yards down, but it's actually not going to make much of a difference because he's got another 2 construction yards anyway, and that's going to give him his maximum building speed of structures. So I'm guessing Cyan does not have the knowledge that when you have aftermath units switched on, you do get that limited speed building bonus, where you have the maximum building speed when you have 2 of any building. And now having a look at yellow up there, and you can see there's quite a few tanks in his base. We just have to be careful though, because we could also see red is starting to close in on the middle, and we'll have to see, because this could actually cause a response from Cyan. If red gets too close to Cyan's base, he could be in big trouble. And now I'm getting a chrono sphere out, so I can transport units to different areas of the map, and just getting a few more pillboxes, because the further it goes into this game, the more likely we are going to see attacks from other things. And speaking of attacks from other things, we can see some MiGs coming in, and now the red army is coming forwards. And I can see a lot of shock troopers there, and I really don't want to engage with that if at all possible. I'm getting some pillboxes up, but those shock troopers are just so effective against tanks, and if I go to head on a collision, it's going to cost me a lot. So I have to be really, really careful. And that's the thing about playing allies against Soviets, when aftermath units are switched on. Now going for red, I'm going for the construction yard at the back of the base. He's seen it's there, and he's gone for a Tesla, which is going to take out my chrono tank. But I'm just having a look at that army there, and yeah, it's something I really don't want to engage with. So right now just building tanks and trying to hang back in my base and just hoping there's a fight between red and yellow, or red and cyan. I'm in a very hard spot at the moment, because if I lose a lot of tanks at this stage, I'd be very vulnerable if I fought with red, and then yellow or cyan could easily pick me off. And I'm having a bit of a think, and I'm going to do something really, really risky very soon. But I think it's going to be, well, it's a choice I'm going to have to make, and that chronosphere is charging. You can see those tanks getting near yellow. I'm really hoping yellow actually goes on the attack now. He's going to lose those autos possibly. I'm just getting more pillboxes. My tanks are going to be blocking my trucks a little bit, but I'm just putting them there now because I do think we are going to be in a fight before too long. And to be fair, I've got so many resources in the bank, I'm not really worried about losing a couple of resources at this point in the game. One thing that still works okay against Tesla troops is Tanya. So let's see if Tanya can get any shots in here. We're just going to fire on some of those shock troopers, and she's taken out quite a few of them, and that's probably going to give me some really good resources. I lost to Tanya, but I've got a lot of shock troopers down, and they are very expensive, and I can replace the Tanya, so that's not too bad. And you can see the red is moving back a little bit. It's about time to carry out a strategy that could either make or break this game. This could be a big mistake, or it could be a big reward. We're sending our MCV to the second lake in this match. We're going to start building cruisers in mass on this lake. One thing that cruisers do well is they do a lot of damage to any infantry units, including shock troopers. So we're going to be getting them out as soon as possible. And that construction yard is probably going to go down, but those naval yards will probably stay up, hopefully, because they are. And this is a problem. The thing is, as soon as they fire, they've just fired on Cyan, so Cyan might retaliate. We'll have to wait and see. And this is why this is super high risk. Having the cruisers here is sort of like antagonising two people at once, both cyan and red. But now we're going to send those cruisers to fire on those shock troopers. And you see those shock troopers, they are getting taken out. A whole bunch of them there. And cyan trying to respond with a sub-pen, but it's too late. We've got our cruisers there. Any sub-pens that go up, we are going to try and take out. And you can see now the missile launchers, the V2 rockets, trying to take out our naval yards. So we're going to take them out with our cruisers, which do a lot of damage. We can see those shock trooper numbers now falling even more. And that's a lot of damage that's just happened to red. It's going to take him a long time to build back numbers because of the limited building speed, and now I'm just sending my cruisers to fire and rain bullets down on that outer base quite close to mine. I think red's seen that it's going to be unsustainable, but we've got cyan coming in on the attack. And that's what I meant by it being a super high risk strategy. We've got now cyan attacking us. Red's pulling back though, thankfully, because he's under attack from yellow. So just taking out some of that base. We've got the oil refinery down. It looks like it's going to go down quite soon, but we've got cyan coming in, and we're going to need to take notice of this. He's taking in tanks from the bottom and the top, and now that MCV for red is starting to pull back, and it looks like yellow is building forces in the north of the map. And now we're going to go for some of those cyan buildings, take out some of those major structures. We can see some tanks have got back into the back of our base. I will have to see how they're going to go for the tech centre. It does look like that's going to be the case. I do have another tech centre though. We're going to have to see if he realises it. But that first tech centre looks like it's going to stay up maybe, or possibly go down. We'll have to wait and see. He's sending all tanks there at the moment. He's going to spend a lot of units taking that down. Thankfully though, I do have that second one, so I'm okay for the time being. I still have full map visibility. The cruisers' numbers, though, in that lake are really starting to pick up, and you can see there's a lot of units there, a lot of infantry actually as well. We'll have to try and take out some of them. Let's see how this cruiser shot goes. And, oh, it's not getting a good hit on those Tesla troops actually there. Hopefully the future shots will be more successful. But what we'll try and do is we'll try and take out some of those Tesla and some of those other units around there. So you can see some of those oil refineries going down, and even more units now going into our base. I'm just trying to do as much damage as I can to Cyan, who's building another Tesla coil close to those cruisers. So I think that is a bad idea, because it's not going to be in range, and our cruisers are going to take it out quite soon. Both those Teslas on low HP. And hopefully they should go down soon. One of them going down, and now we're trying to take out the closer one. And yeah, just we'll take out that oil refinery first actually, because that Tesla isn't going to be too bad. And now we can see the MiGs trying to come over, finally getting that Tesla up, and this Tesla's actually in range, so I might have to pull back. Well, we'll have to pull back actually, because we've been able to take it out. And now just firing on some of Cyan's buildings, and now Cyan is selling up. He's realising it's just a waste of time to keep the buildings. He may just take the money from selling them before they get destroyed by the cruisers. But now we're getting our army in, and we're starting to have a fight with Cyan, because we can see in the north of the map, yellow and red are having a big battle. It's really important, whatever happens at the top of the map, that we try and destroy Cyan first, because if yellow win at the top, then yellow are very close to me, and I'm going to be the next target. If red win at the top, I've got that cruiser lake in the middle, and they're going to go, I'm going to be the next target. So if we get like 3-way in this, I'm going to be in a 2v1 spot. That's just the way it's going to go. That's why the risk of putting those cruisers in that lake, it means that more people are going to attack you, but it also gives you a big advantage when you're fighting against another opponent. And now going for the attack on Cyan. We can see we've got the better tank numbers. He has got a lot of buildings. He's got Tesla though around as well, which do a lot of damage to tanks. But now starting to take out Cyan's tanks. You can see he hasn't got that many left, and going to go for some of his economy, his oil refineries at the moment, and just pushing further and further into the base at the moment. We can see some infantry coming out though, and infantry do decent damage. He's also playing as Soviets, so he does have access to shock troopers. He's also got some MiGs there doing some attacks as well. And now my tanks numbers starting to fall a little bit, because those shock troopers just doing some major damage and whittling down my forces a little bit, but I've still got the superior numbers at this point. Now going for another oil refinery. You can see he's got a lot of oil trucks going there for the oil patch. Just looking for the major buildings. We've got a war factory here. I'm looking at the top of the map. It looks like red is starting to push yellow back, and that's probably what's going to happen with an allied first Soviet force. Going further into Cyan's base for those Teslas and Soviet shock troopers doing so much damage. Now going across now, getting another construction yard down. I'm just trying to go around the outsides of the base and maybe do a bit of damage to the economy of Cyan, because we can see he's got a lot of oil trucks there just outside the base. But another Tesla raining Tesla on us, and another Tesla going up inside the base. He's got 3 Tesla left now, taking out one of them, and going for another oil refinery, trying to take that out. But our force slowly getting whittled down. He's also got some tanks still coming, and some Tesla troops coming forwards. We're taking out some power plants, but I don't think that's going to make a difference. We could also go to the back of his base, where he's got his construction yards. He's now selling up his airfields, and now going for the construction yards. There's only 2 left. We've got 1 down. It looks like we're going to go for the second one as well. So try to take that down, and that means he's going to have no construction yards left, but he still has a war factory, so he'll still be able to build an MCV. But we've got all the oil refineries, and we've got all the MCVs down right now, taking out the radar dome as well, and now taking my tanks back up. Right now though, you can see my force is just being whittled down completely, and I've got hardly any tanks left. And the thing is, there's one thing I need to get rid of, and that is the war factory, because from the war factory he can produce a MCV, but it just looks like I don't have the forces. I'm going to have to pull back, and that is just a big blow to me. Just one more building needs to go down, and I just don't have enough to take it. And you can see the Cyan force is just slightly too large for me, and I'm not going to be able to dive in and get that last remaining building that I need to make sure they can build back up. It's going to take him a while to be able to build an MCV. He's got enough unit structures there to sell. And he's then going to be able to build an ore refinery as well and start getting back on track. And that's just a devastating for me. We can see that up at the top, Yellow's called it good game. So it looks like Red has completely overran his base. We can see Red units inside the base as well, just outside the cap generator range. So that is... we're going to have to pull back now, and we're going to have Red to deal with as well as Cyan. At least I've got a couple of cruisers at my main base. It means if Cyan does come across with shock troopers, then they'll be able to do quite a bit of damage. But now Yellow is officially out of the game. I'm just going to have a look. Is there going to be one last attempt on that war factory? I don't know whether just to dive in and go for it. But the MCV's out now, so it's too late. Might just take out one of those ore trucks so just to make sure the economy doesn't get back on track as quickly as it could. But now we can see this Red is coming up to my base. I'm going to have to pull back and go and deal with this. He's got quite a few heavy tanks there. They're going into my base. I do have some base defences, but a lot of them are pillboxes, and they're not that good against those heavy tanks. So I'm going to need to go back now and leave Cyan for now, because we've got bigger things to worry about as his forces enclose from different sides. Just getting another ore refinery up there. It looks like this our part of my base is going to be in big trouble as he takes out some of those ore refineries, and now he's going for the base defences and taking them out. It looks like those base defences have done a bit of damage though. I did have some turrets mixed in there, and so my tanks are getting in there now as well and doing a bit of damage while he takes them out. The only thing is though, my tank numbers aren't great at this point, but we are able to take out some of those units, and it looks like he's focusing more on structures than my actual tanks, which is good for me because it means we're going to be able to whittle down his forces and build up our tank numbers while we do that. I do have some important structures in my main base, but it looks like while this is happening, those tank numbers are starting to be diminished. My cruisers also doing a little bit of firing on those tanks, and you can see though a lot of those heavy tanks now on low HP, and this looks like they're going to go down pretty soon. Getting rid of those red ones first. All of my tanks taking some fire as well. But now my cruisers at the other side of the map doing some great damage, taking out one of those ore refineries. Going to see if I can get that other ore refinery one that's a bit further away. Doing some good damage there though, and let's hope we can take that out as well. What that'll mean is that his ore trucks have to go long distance mining. We could also see that Red is setting up near Cyan. I'm just seeing if that's in range, but it's not. It doesn't look like it's going to be. Some Tesla troops there. The tanks are in range though, but what I'll do is I'll focus on this side, and this could work in my favour, because if Red set up a base there and start mining resources, they are very close to Cyan, and that means Cyan may attack Red next, and not myself. The reason Red had to go for a so bold move, because that's not like tactically great. The thing is, Red has no choice at this point, because there's a lot of ore near my lake, but my cruisers are defending that, so he can't get near there. And we can see the ore around his Stein base is all used up. So for resources, he's having to go right next to Cyan's base. And that's the advantage of having that lake there and forcing Red into a difficult position. So that lake is actually paying off, even though it could have actually absolutely broke me. If Red had attacked me and Cyan had attacked me at the same time and Yellow hadn't been involved, then I could have been in a really bad situation. But sometimes when you take these risks, they actually pay off, and this time it has. So that's obviously working in my favour at the moment. I just build my economy back up around that middle ore patch, while I just destroy that Red. And now we can see Red coming in with a couple of tanks. I'm going to chase them though, because I'm getting a good trade here. I've taken out a couple of tanks there, and yeah, I'm taking out a red tank here with no loss to my own tanks, and there's only a couple of red tanks there, so I'll be able to take those out as well. And you can see that now Red losing tanks and doing very little damage, and this is really good for me. And Red now starting to pull back. We can see an MCV there, we're forcing that back as well, which is really good, because we don't want him building a base just north of here, where he can get access to some of the resources. He's now having to pull back into cruiser lit range. I'm also going to pull back as well, because I can see some Tesla there. I don't want to get in Tesla fire, because I just have so few tanks at the moment. Any tanks that are lost unnecessarily is going to be very big in this game, because of course we can't build units up very quickly, even if we had like better building speed, our resource count isn't great. I'm also getting some turrets up there and just trying to build them up, and I'm getting some more tanks actually from my war factory, so my numbers aren't as bad as they were. And you can see red still trying to get that MCV out, and now Cyan has exited the game, and this means it's going to be a 1v1 now, me against the Soviet player in the red. And we're going to be able to overcome the shock troopers. That's the big thing. And now in that range of that Tesla's from an outer base, so I'm going to need to take that out straight away. Tesla goes down. Construction yard hopefully will follow. He's actually just putting it back into an MCV, but I think we're going to be able to take that down as well. Reinforcements though are starting to come in now, and I'm going to take this fight against red here. There's only tanks here, no shock troopers, so that should be okay here. And you can see those red tanks getting wheeled down. He's realised he hasn't got enough, and he's starting to pull back. So stopping that outer base from going up, and that's obviously a big win for us. And now just continuing to increase our economy at this side of the map. The thing is now what we have to think about is how we're going to get close to those other bases with the Tesla involved as well. There's 3 Tesla there. Now we're going to go down further down the map. We can see some tanks and some shock troopers heading towards our bottom base. At least I've got some cruisers. If they get too close, I'm also going to get some pillboxes. A mix of pillboxes and turrets, because pillboxes do well. The damage, like shock troopers, although shock troopers can take them out pretty quickly with the Tesla. So just getting some more base defences just to help me in case he goes for attacks from other directions. And you can see some tanks now going in from the top of the map. But as soon as he gets close, those cruisers start to fire. And what I'm just using is a mix of base defences and just move my army around just to take these tanks and get good trades. Just going to need to carry a few tanks to the bottom there. And you can see those tanks getting absolutely mauled at the top and having to pull back, all on red HP now, and this is going quite well. And now we can see those shock troopers getting a little bit closer. I'm going to have to be careful here. What I'm going to do though is I'm going to get these cruisers, and let's see if we can get a shot off on the shock troopers. So are they going to be in range? Might just be able to make it. And yes, it looks like they're going to be in range, and a great hit there. You can see a lot of those shock troopers now on low HP. I'm going to try and pick them off with tanks as they run back, and that's a big win there. That's quite a few shock troopers down. It's going to take time to rebuild them, and it's going to cost a lot of resources. But as I say that, it looks like red is coming in from another angle of the map. So just taking some tanks back there and going back in there. We can see some tanks going down to the main part of my base. He's going to try and take out some buildings, trying to get some turrets down at the moment. It looks like he's going for the oil refinery first of all. That oil refinery though, not essential because it's not close to an ore patch, so that's probably good for myself. And now I'm sending a group of tanks towards his other base, but now he's getting close to the centre of my base, and this could be quite bad because I've got a tech centre very close to there, but the tech centre stays up for the time being at least. Yeah, I was a bit worried there that he was going to get rid of that, and now we're going to be able to take away this outer base, and that's going to hurt him quite a bit. You can see he's got another MCV further down, but we're going to send some tanks towards that as well. And now some more tanks coming in towards my base. He's got some tanks to the top. He's also got some tanks to the right of my base. So I'm going to just have to split up at the moment and try and defend from both sides. It looks like those tanks are heading towards my base. I might pick up an auto truck just before I go though. I just need to make sure his economy isn't going to be able to build up, and that he's going to be hard on resources, so he can't build as many tanks. But now you can see his first tanks reaching my base there, so I'm going to be able to take those out. MCV going away there, but I think I'm going to have to pull everything back at the moment because it's looking quite bad. I'm going to get an oil refinery right in the middle there, not because it's a good place to place an oil refinery, just because it's going to mean I'm going to have one extra left. We'll have to see what is he going for. Is he going to go for the MCV? Is he going to go for the tech centre? The MCV looks like he's getting hit. The thing is about cruiser fire as well, it can do a bit of damage, but staying up for now. And now I'm going to try and defend on the right side. It looks like those tanks have gone a bit further north. They're sitting around the oil refineries. I'm not worried though if I lose an oil refinery because I've got another 2 there, so yeah, one oil refinery goes down, another 2, well, another 3 left actually. And now I'm going to go for that MCV. This is just north of my base, and you can see my tank numbers are starting now to really pick up. I think I've been getting the better trades and my numbers are starting to build, and you can see that red is really struggling. I think once he's lost that, because he's lost that outer base in the bottom right of the map, it's made it really hard for him to gather resources, and now taking out some more tanks. I've got so many tanks now I can split them up. I'm going to take another set of tanks to his base. I've got one set of tanks on base defense, but we can see his units now are pulling back across the map towards his base. He's got 3 Tesla there, but I'm not too worried about that at the moment. I'm going to go in and take them out. You can see he's got some tanks going back to defend there, but it looks like I'm going to go in and take out those Tesla, two of those Tesla down. The third soon to follow, and you can see now red has nothing to fight back with, and this game is just a matter of time before it is over. So this game was quite an interesting game. It's called a good game. The thing is when you're playing against Soviets with Aftermath, it's very hard. The thing about Marina Valley Extreme though is that it has 2 lakes, and if allies can get naval bases on those 2 lakes and get cruisers, that provides a big advantage, and that's what helped me overcome the shock troopers, because in 1-on-1 engagements with tanks against tanks and shock troopers, there's only going to be one winner, but with the control of the lakes, that gave me a big advantage, although it was very, very risky when I did it, because Cyan was in the game, and Cyan went on the attack, and if I'd got 2v1 there, it would have turned out very different. But fortunately for us, red was in an engagement with yellow and had to fight that out before we were able to focus on ourselves, and then Cyan left the game shortly after. I guess so, with Aftermath units switched on though, you could actually take the lakes over with Soviets if you got like submarines and missile subs, because missile subs can do some amazing damage to buildings as well, so that'd be a possible strategy also. But we managed to overcome this one. It was a tough fought game, but in the end we managed to come out on top. Thank you for watching, hope you enjoyed the video.